Well, g'day boys and girls. With how things are in the world at the moment with our coronavirus all over the world and stopping us from having meetings and being able to show here in Australia. Our show season was due to commence this weekend coming. I thought that what I would encourage everybody to do, even though we can't show, and those who are able, they could have a mini show within their own room and then post it online. So, introducing myself, my name's Simon Lloyd, and I live in Maitland in New South Wales, Australia. I had pretty successful breeding season, and I think I would have bred some fairly good birds on the show bench this year. Anyway, so my idea is that I'll put all the varieties that I have but able to breed this year, not varieties, the colour variations in the Border Fancy in particular, and I'll get used to do the judging. Yeah, that's the idea, and if others want to adapt this, follow it and do the same thing, it'd be great for here in Australia at the moment, because our show season, as I said, was due to start. So I'll come back to you quickly with a few of the birds I'm going to start with. Okay, this season I haven't bred any clear or ticked or even lightly variegated yellow cocks, but I have always had a pretty strong family of greens, and this fella here I thought would have done quite well on the bench. He's a heavily variegated yellow green cock, quite a nice bird. If anything, he sort of kicks his tail up a little bit, but yeah, still quite a nice bird. And the second bird, he's still got a little bit to go in the molt around his head, but again I thought just a little bit different style, very typey style bird, maybe in my opinion just a touch long, but he's a beautiful headed bird, and beautiful type bird as well. They're not quite used to the camera, so they're going to play up a little bit to I don't video them too often, but that's two of my heavily variegated yellow green cocks. And then moving along, these are my self yellow green cocks. He's quite a nice bird. May have done pretty well. Again, got the type there. Yeah, just something that's come into the birds. I don't know. I have to have a look back. And not as straight as I would like them. From tail through to the eye. Yeah, here's another. These next two yellow green cocks, a little bit later bred. They've still got around their face really. Their heads have more or less come in, but still a few pin feathers around the head, but again a lovely shaped bird, and yeah, I think he would have done pretty well himself. And this is his brother, also just around the head to go. He's not as clean in the feather around the leg area as his brother, but and showing a little bit of night feather there, but that could be just a little bit of stress, I think. He doesn't normally do that with a feather around the leg, but yeah, again a lovely type bird, and again they're not really used to the camera, but yeah, I think with a bit more time on, out and about. As I said, he's only a younger bird, and I think he would have done pretty well also. Okay, moving forward, again, haven't got a very strong clears or tick birds, but these are my lightly variegated buff cocks. This bloke's a lightly variegated cinnamon buff cock, but he will fall into the lightly variegated buff class here in Australia. Yeah, he's not too bad a bird. He's got a lovely type about him here from the Australian border. Maybe just a little bit of feather, night feather maybe, but not a bad bird. And this is his brother out of the same nest, in my opinion a better bird. Beautiful feathered birds, these cinnamons, as they generally are. And getting a bit too used to the show cage, I think. And this fella here, lightly variegated buff cock. Again, beautiful feather. Maybe a bit too long, maybe, but a beautiful feathered bird. Lovely wing carriage, wings sit straight on the body. Like to see a little bit more definition in his head, this fella, but he'll be handy. Yeah, would just like him to be a little bit more showier. But he's a nice clean bird. Okay, these are my heavily variegated green buff cocks. This fella is a really nice bird. Still a bit young yet. He's still got around his head and face to go in the molt, but coming along nicely. Yeah, I had he looked one of those birds that just looked good right from the get-go. He's actually a full brother to the second heavily variegated yellow-green cock we've seen earlier. Yeah, a really nice bird, and I think he would have done pretty well a bit later on in the show season. But yeah, we'll be showing these all as probably as old birds next year. And I've got this fella here, bit better in the feather. Yeah, he's a nice bird. Just like to see him possibly a bit more shoulder on this fella. That's great definition of the head. And you know, really the cameras don't do the bird justice to the real thing. But yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Now these next three birds are his half brothers, so they're bred from the same cock. But they're the first fella here is a fowl bird, and yeah, still he's a nice bird. Again, just lacking a little bit of shoulder, but yeah, great feather, great heads these birds. One thing I am sort of looking at doing, just one thing, not just one thing, but things I'm working on, is just trying to get their legs a bit more centered to the body. They're still just back down the body a little bit more. I just like to get them a bit more centered. So he's the fowl bird, and here in Australia the fowl and self are shown together in the same class. So this is another nestmate brother, self bird. Again, quite a nice bird. might be a better angle too. But yeah, he's quite a nice bird. I think any one of these three cocks, they're brothers out of the same nest. I think they would have done quite well on the bench in the green classes. And this is the third bird out of that nest. Some days I think this bird's a better bird out of the three, and other days it's one of the other two. But again, yeah, they're all got that same trait, just lacking a little bit more shoulder, but still a nice bird, don't get me wrong. Yeah, nice and feather, nice and tight, you know, wings are married to the body, lovely tail, and you know, not overly long. Long enough, you wouldn't want them any longer. Okay, now we come into the white ground cocks. He's a tick fawn cock actually. Got a tick right on top of his head. I've got him in a show cage, but I wouldn't have been showing him. He's a nice bird. I think he's just a bit too big for the show bench, but I'll be holding on to him for stock. Yeah. From this particular family, I continue to breed some nice white ground birds. Yeah, but it's not a bad bird, but he's got a brother, which I'll show you next, and he's just better. And this is him here. Yeah, he's just a better bird all round. Beautiful type. Feathers a little bit rough at the moment, but yeah, he's still quite a lovely bird. I've really had high hopes for this fella. I think he would have done very well on the bench. He would have been pretty hard to beat, but I also, that's out of my cinnamon line, and so a variegated white fawn cock. But this bloke here, heavily variegated blue cock, in my opinion, probably just a little bit different in shape to the fawn bloke, but I think he would have been very hard to beat. He's got magnificent feather, lovely type for here in Australia. Again, doesn't normally carry that wing like that, but might be just a camera. As I said, the birds aren't quite used to the camera. I don't do too much videoing. Got a really nice bird. The only thing that'd be going against him really is his colour. He's a bit bronzy for the blue, but he's still quite a nice bird. Just carrying that wing a bit high at the moment, but it's just pulling in. I'm sure it's just the Canary. Normally doesn't do that. Yeah. And then moving on, I only bred the one this year, a cinnamon yellow cock. Again, a really nice bird. Could be a little bit tighter in feather, but that's something I've been working on. His mother and grandmother are much the same, but I have bred some better feathered cinnamons this year for him to go back to. So, but look at that, he's just a really nice bird. Again, I think he would have been pretty hard to beat on the bench in the cinnamon class. But anyway, like I said earlier, we'll be showing him again next year, hopefully, and he'll be shown as an over-year bird. Cinnamon, self-cinnamon yellow cock. Okay, moving on. Now we're back to the hens now, and She's not a clear, she's lightly variegated yellow hen, marked on the wing, cinnamon marked actually, so she's not too bad, not too bad. Maybe you'd like to see a little bit more definition in the head and maybe just that little bit more shoulder. Yeah, she's not too bad, but probably going, you know, she's great type and gets herself up lovely and all that type of thing, but I probably wouldn't end up showing her. In my opinion, I've got a couple of better. So this is another hen I bred this year, lightly variegated yellow hen. I think she's just got a little bit to do around her head and face, just a few pin feathers to go. But yeah, she's a really nice bird. I think she would have done well on the bench. Yeah, she's got a lovely shape about her, and lovely head, lovely position, and very easy bird to work in the show cage as well. Now she is also a sister to the heavily variegated buff cock and the heavily variegated yellow cock that I showed you earlier. And she's got another sister I'll show you in shortly in the heavily variegated yellow hen class. Now this is the other lightly variegated yellow hen I bred this year. Just a little bit different in shape, a little bit. She's a bit more rounder. Hasn't got that reach that the second hen has, but she's a lovely bird. Her mother's a rounder style bird. And depending on the judge, they may have gone for something along this style. Now I know you guys in England and Europe are going to be thinking these are more like fifes, but this is the style of border we have here in Australia. I can assure you it's not a fife. She's just the right size, in my opinion, for showing and for stock as well. I don't like my hens too big unless I've got small cocks. Yeah, she's a nice bird. Okay, so moving on to our heavily variegated yellow hens, and this is the other sister to those two cocks and the second lightly variegated yellow hen. Again, quite a nice bird. The greens don't seem to be as popular here in my local area as other parts of the country, but she's a very nice bird. I think she would have done quite well. Now this bird too, a lovely bird, beautiful feathered bird, absolutely magnificent feather for a yellow. Just thinking, oh yes, so the first bird we've seen today, heavily variegated yellow green cock, is her brother. Again, he's got magnificent feather. Yeah, she would have been quite hard to beat, I think, on the bench in the green class. Here also we show the heavily variegated themselves in the one class, which is a bit of a shame, but anyway, she's a nice bird. She's going to come in very handy. These hens, you know, we go into the cockbirds, the buff cocks you've seen earlier, so they're going to improve them even better. So them are two heavily variegated yellow-green hens, and this bird is my self hen. Now I've only bred the one this year. Not as good as some of the others in previous years. Over the last 2 years, my yellow-green hen selfs got reserve champion. I only showed at 2 shows last year and picked up reserve champion at 1 show.
and the year before also picked up reserve champion at a number of 4 different shows, I think it was. She got reserve champion, she was that good, a self yellow green hen. But she's a nice bird, she's pretty good. And yeah, just that tail, not married to, tends to be down a bit, but she'll counteract some of the other things that are going on in the room too. Their tail's sort of kicking up a bit too much. But yeah, she's a sweet little thing, and yeah, I like her. I like her. Oh, this is a bird I forgot about earlier. This is a heavily variegated cinnamon buff cock. Well, at least I think it's a cock. I haven't got any cinnamon buff cocks in my room at the moment, so can't compare colour. It does a little bit of whistling. I'm saying cock, but she could be just a whistling hen. Lovely feathered bird. She's got that henny sort of thing about her. There's 3 in this nest, 3 hens. I like the variegated buff hen, another heavily variegated cinnamon buff hen as well. But this is the best of them out of that nest. The other 2 have already, I've moved them on. I don't sell too many birds, I tend to give them away. So the 2 sisters to this bird have gone. Unfortunately I lost the mother, but I still got the father, and she'll improve the feather in that cinnamon line. Her feather's very, very good, or his feather's very, very good. Now, all the birds I'm showing you are young birds, except for this bird. This is the yellow-green hen last year that got reserve champion here in Maitland. A lovely bird. Consequently, she's the mother of all those green buff cocks that you've seen earlier today. She still looks good. She has been spending a little bit of time in the show cage before now, and I probably would have showed her at 1 or 2 shows this year. She still looks good, and I've got high hopes for her again this year. Not so much on the bench, but for the breeding season. Okay, moving on. So still building up on my clear family, and again didn't have much of a didn't do too well with the clears, but still got a few birds to show. So this is a lightly variegated, my lightly variegated buff hen. She's a lightly variegated cinnamon buff hen, as you can see. Again, quite a nice bird. She's only sort of downside with her, she's got a little bit too much feather, so she's showing a bit of night feather. But she's still a very nice bird, and yeah, I've got high hopes for her. So she's going to come in very handy for me. And I didn't breed any heavies or self green buff hens this year. They tended all to be cocks. So moving from the greens into my cinnamons. So this is my heavily variegated cinnamon buff hen. Again, quite a nice bird. She's a sister, full nest sister to the 2 cinnamon, lightly variegated cinnamon buff cocks you saw earlier. The one nest bred from one of my fawn cocks and cinnamon hen. That's how I pair them. Fawns back to the cinnamons, and cinnamon to cinnamon. I just keep that family together. She's, yeah, quite a nice bird. Beautiful feathered bird, beautiful type, and yeah, I think she would have done very well on the bench also. And then moving into my white ground hens. I'll just go past this hen for a moment, come to the blue hen. Again, she's still a nice bird. Just hasn't got the position that some of my other birds have got. And I could have shown this bird. I'm sure one or two of the judges may have liked her, but she's still a nice bird, and she'll stay as part of the breeding program here. But we'll see how we go. But coming up against this hen here, self-fawn hen in the same class. She's always going to be running second to this hen. A lovely, lovely bird. My only criticism is she may be just a little bit long in the leg, but wow, just a really nice hen. A really nice hen. Maybe just like to see a little bit more shoulder there, but still, that's a lovely hen. You know, she's not put off by the camera at all. She's probably the opposite. She's got that look at me, I'm here to win. That look about her. So I have kept 3 fawn cocks, like the variegated fawn cock, 3 brothers, and unfortunately I lost the father. No, sorry, I lost one of my fawn cocks, but I consequently out of one of the other fawn cocks I only got this one chick out of them, and but they'll be going back together next year, and she's a really nice bird, and hopefully they'll produce a few more. And my plans are to pair this fawn hen back to the first heavily variegated green buff cock to sell. He's a cinnamon carrier. So I'll get the full range of blue, cinnamon, fawns and greens from that pairing. Lovely.
So guys, that's my young birds, apart from that one self yellow-green hen. They're the birds I would have been showing this year, and it didn't take all that long to do, and I'm only doing this on my iPhone, so hopefully everything comes through okay. I'm also putting a bit of a website together, and I've got quite a bit of information that I'm wanting to share out there, and just about how I do things. So got all this downtime, we may as well be making the most of it, and yeah, we can do these types of things. Go through your birds and pick out your best. Only keep your best, and you're going to produce your best. So hope you've enjoyed just this little part of the the show team for the 2020 season. Catch you later. Bye.